Today on TimesCast, football helmets fail to properly protect against concussions. The Tribune Company's troubles impact important regional papers. And in today's caucus, following outside money into the campaigns. In a first look at a story in Thursday's papers, Alan Schwartz reports that football helmets used by players from youth football leagues all the way to the pros fail to properly protect against concussions.
As a mom, I worry a lot about safety.
You know, here at the New York Times, we've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours writing and reporting about the dangers of a concussion once you sustain one. However, we haven't talked a lot about how to prevent them in the first place, and of course the player's first line of defense is the helmet. But what's particularly interesting is that the only standard that helmets are required to meet, and here's the label, it says meets NOCSE standard. The only standard that it is required to meet is for the extraordinarily high forces that might otherwise fracture a skull. The standard has nothing to do with concussions. Virtually no one is aware of the fact that helmets are not designed to handle the injury of the age.
I trust that the standards are accurate.
So I would expect that they would have the helmets to be helpful in preventing head concussions and to have any other head injury.
Another process that's horribly misunderstood among people involved in youth football is the reconditioning process of helmets. More than 90% of youth football players wear a used helmet.
We're playing with equipment that I could have played in back 30 years ago.
And they need to undergo a process called reconditioning, in which the foam and the padding is taken out and then everything sort of redone on the helmet. However, even the reconditioning process is prone to just glaring lapses. There have been football helmets sent back to schools with missing padding, with the face mask on wrong. I mean, it's just a mess because there is so little oversight in the helmet industry. And the oversight that the helmet industry gets is often from the helmet industry itself. You know, there are a lot of ways in which the industry could be improved with better oversight, stricter standards, and perhaps that will happen. But for now, there are a lot of people very concerned about the fact that this helmet doesn't provide nearly the protection for concussions that many people assume.
Media Decoder examines how management missteps at the Tribune Company hastened the decline of regional newsrooms.
David, you've been writing about the struggles at Tribune, which owns the LA Times, Chicago Tribune, Baltimore Sun, a couple dozen TV stations. And this week it's all coming to a head with the CEO, Randy Michaels, expected to be asked to step down by the board. Why should we care about the CEO of this newspaper company?
When you think about it, much of the reporting capacity of the country is stored in these newsrooms all over the country. But if you open up Twitter, you open up Facebook, you see the stories that people are talking about. Many of them are still coming out of daily journalism in these cities.
These papers at Tribune have been cut to the bone in some cases. What went wrong in the past few years?
Well, Sam Zell, a Chicago real estate magnate, known for his market timing, bought the wrong thing at the wrong time and probably put the wrong guys in charge. Randy Michaels had a lot of success at Clear Channel and radio, J-Corps. Newspapers, very different business.
You said they brought in a frat house atmosphere, right?
Well, one of the things they brought with them, I guess, is sort of the vibe of a morning radio show. Tribune was a really conservative company. You have to picture this clown car kind of pulling up, these guys spilling out. And they brought the fun, but they brought a lot of sort of cultural approaches.
And now that clown car is leaving, what's next for Tribune?
I think it's really important when you look at Los Angeles, when you look at Baltimore, when you look at Hartford, when you look at Chicago, that they have big newspapers, and somebody needs to figure out what the formula is going to be going forward to sustain these newsrooms. I don't think these were the guys to do it.
So Matt, the amount of money being raised, it's huge in this campaign. Where's it coming from? Who's doing it? And what do you see happening? What do you see the Democrats worried about?
Well, all the talk now is about these conservative outside groups, which could spend $200 million or more. None of us knows the figure, but it could be it's unbelievable, the onslaught. And what Democrats are worried about is they now have a structural disadvantage going forward. In other words, that now with the campaign finance laws and the interpretation of the Supreme Court, that they are in fact going to always be behind if they don't build their own organizations.
So are they going to build it?
They will, and my take is somewhat different today, which is that it's not a structural deficit. It's actually just part of our political culture right now. Where control switches so much, where one party trades for the other so much. The party out of power always has all the energy and all the enthusiasm and all the exploiting of new technologies and progress, so that when Democrats were out of power, liberal donors stepped up and put $150 million in, you'll remember, in 2004.
Soros and all those folks, right?
Conservatives are doing it now, though they've upped the ante a little. I expect that liberals will ultimately up the ante. I think this is a new part of our political cycle.
The conservative groups that raised all this money, they're already plotting, as soon as this election cycle is over, to come back, meet, and get ready for 2012.
Yeah, and I'm struck by the similarities to what happened with Democrats in 2004 and 2005. We have very short memories about these things. I happen to have written an entire book on the subject, but there is.
And the Republicans, the right wing, they're reading the book now.
Oh, they love the book now. Yeah, they're giving it away in droves. Yeah, I'm not sure why, but there is a feeling of deja vu here. Where the liberal donors all got together, they held conferences, they formed something called the Democracy Alliance. I think you're going to see conservatives. They've already built something like that. They're going to continue to build a tighter network. I think this is just a new facet of our politics, and it comes from ideological extremes, and it pushes our politics toward ideological extremes.
So the money wars will continue through the next couple of years.
This is what we have to look forward to, you and I.
Join us again tomorrow for TimesCast.